week when I go to the supermarket, I find myself looking at all kinds of tabloids advertising how to lose 30 billion pounds in 10 days and how to lose 5 sizes in 8 weeks. Well, I'm here to tell you today that I have lost pounds and I have lost sizes, but in the process of doing so, I also lost plenty of hair, plenty of years off of my life, plenty of bone mass, and a lot of my confidence. When I was 16 years old, I remember standing on my bathroom scale, and it was a pretty standard scale in pounds, and by the time I stood on that scale, I'd lost about 30 pounds in 2 months because I'd stopped eating. And I remember looking down at that scale, seeing the number, and realizing that I was not happy with myself at that number. And scarily enough, I realized that I would never be happy with myself, even if by some magical miracle, that number managed to reach into the negatives. And that possibility scared me because I realized that I had developed a very unhealthy frame of mind. And I realized that if I didn't stop doing what I was doing, there were going to be some serious consequences. But I didn't stop. And predictably, I landed myself in the hospital at age 17, where I had to have an endoscopy done, which is a procedure where a doctor takes a long scope and a camera and sticks them down your throat to see what kind of damage you've done to your insides. And he told me that it was a pretty routine procedure, nothing could go wrong. And when I woke up, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, and I asked him, "Doc, what happened to me?" And he said, "Your heart was so weak from starvation that it actually stopped on the table, and I had to pump you full of drugs in order to make you come back alive again." Now that should have been my wake-up call, but it wasn't. A couple of years later, I headed off to college, and at college I noticed that there was a lot of fun, a lot of friends, but there was also a lot of food at every social gathering. And it wasn't always carrot sticks and celery. It was fatty, sugary, completely delicious foods that I'd labeled as forbidden. But if I didn't eat these foods, I wouldn't really be accepted into the college lifestyle. And so I indulged in these foods, and then I'd feel guilty, so I'd throw them up. And after a while, I began thinking, hey, if I'm just throwing this up anyway, why don't I eat more? And so I would binge and purge and binge and purge, and it would burn my throat, and it kept me from going to social gatherings, and it kept me from going to work, and it kept me from going to class. And one day I had the thought, if BYU Idaho offered bachelor's degrees in what the inside of the campus toilets look like, I'd be out of here in less than a week. Because all I spend my time doing is eating the campus food and looking at the inside of the toilet, and eating the campus food and looking at the inside of the toilet again. And it was a scary thought. It was a very scary thought. And one night, I remember as I was getting ready for bed, I'd eaten some stuff that I thought I probably shouldn't have eaten, and I kneeled down right by the toilet, which frankly had become my praying place, where I'd pray that I'd be able to get everything out that I'd eaten that day, and then I'd stand on the scale and pray that I'd lost even half a pound. And as I was about to put my finger down my throat, I saw something on the back of my hand. Now, a lot of bulimics have a sign on the back of their hand called Russell's sign. It's a scar that is made in the middle of your hand from biting on your hand when you force it down your throat to make yourself throw up. And as I looked at that scar, I thought, I know of someone else who has a scar just like that. Only his was made with a nail. And in that moment, I realized that I was a daughter of a much higher being who had created me and who loved me exactly as I was. And for him, I needed to recover so that I could be the daughter that I promised I would be. And so I started going to therapy, and it was not easy. I expected therapy to be a straight line from bottom to top, but no, it was up, down, side, side, up, down, back, 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 up, side, up. It was not a straight line. It was not a smooth recovery. And I realized that even though I was having a hard time, Heavenly Father was still rooting for me. He still wanted me to recover. He still wanted me to love the body that he'd created and labeled as his finest work. And I felt that in a way, by trashing my body, I was mocking his finest work. And so I set my mind to recovering, and it was not easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do because I had to get down to the root of my problems rather than just slapping a Band-Aid on the symptoms. But I'm here to tell you today that it is so worth it to recover. So why am I here? Why am I sharing my story? Well, it's because, statistically speaking, there are probably several people within the sound of my voice that have struggled with eating disorders or are struggling with them, or not even eating disorders, just their own self-image. And I'm here to tell you that contrary to what I believed when I was 16 years old, recovery really is better, and the grass is greener on the other side. And now, instead of daydreaming about eating dinner without wanting to die, or staying at a party instead of having to go and throw up, I'm dreaming about bigger things. I can dream about traveling the world and making new friends and finishing college and having children and marrying the love of my life in 28 days. Whereas before, I didn't even have time to think about all of that with the thoughts of calories and fat grams going on in my head. And I'm here today to tell you that you can do the same.